things we do for reviews.
Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and have a look at my new setup. This is the LG Ergo Dual. It's essentially two 27-inch Quad HD 75Hz IPS monitors on one mount that I've got behind my desk. It's kind of like the ultimate multitasking setup, and actually it's not as expensive as you might think. So this model is the new 2022 LG Ergo Dual, 27QP88D to be exact. So if I roll myself over here, I can show you some of the flexibility you have with this setup. Independent tilt and rotation. The whole thing actually rotates as well. You can stack them on top of each other. You can have them both in portrait. It's so cool. I love it. And obviously you do have this gap here. You've got bezel, so it's not as seamless as an ultra-wide. And actually, in some ways, having two independent separate monitors is a lot more versatile than just one ultra-wide, because you can have different inputs, like your console or your laptop or your desktop. You can have different color profiles. So this could be my preview screen, but then maybe I've got my media files over here, and then I've got my, I don't know, whatever else I've got going on down here on my laptop. The only downside is once you move it a little bit, it is really hard to get it exactly straight again. I wish there was like a auto leveler or like a little sort of click in place function, because if you just adjust it a tiny bit, ooh, almost broke my lamp there, it can look pretty bad. So you have to really line that up carefully and then be careful not to touch it. As one of my favorite quotes go, there is so much room for activities. And as I say, there's tons of layout options. Throw in USB-C with power delivery for laptop charging, and also some pretty easy cable routing with daisy chain functionality. And this starts to look like a productivity monster. Considering Apple charges £400 just to add a bit of height adjustment to its studio display stand, the LG's £800 or $800 price tag sounds like kind of a bargain. And actually, I've seen this listed for as low as $550, which seems like a steal. If this is a little bit overkill for you, you can get a similar setup with smaller 24-inch displays, and also you can get just a single 24-inch as well. But the thing is, what separates this from just having, well, two 27-inch Quad HD monitors next to each other is this stand. And to be honest, how useful this Ergo stand is will completely depend on your needs, your workloads, your workspace. So Ergo is LG shorthand for ergonomic, and that's what you get. Side-by-side, horizontal or vertical, or even one of each if you're into that kind of thing. And if you're at a standing desk or have neck troubles, you can easily adjust the tilt and the height. You can stack them, share one with someone else to the side or behind. The sheer amount of extending, swiveling, tilting, and pivoting can mean it's tricky, as I say, to get everything level. The good news though is installation is pretty straightforward. Firstly, you just tighten the base to your desk with the C-clamp and grommet, which isn't a charming animated TV show, sadly. Next, attach the dual monitor arm with 4 screws, either vertically for stacked screens or horizontal for pretty much everything else. And since this is designed for 24 or 27-inch screens, you can use the bundle tool to extend the arms to the furthest position. Drop the screens onto their mounts, which then lock in place, and then line up the screens. This is easy enough from the front thanks to the grab handle on the stand, and actually if the stand looks like it's drooping, you can adjust the resistance to counter the weight. Then it's just a case of plugging in the cables and then threading them through the cable tidy brackets and down through the stand. Which you probably will want to do, as this many cables can easily look a mess, especially since we have dual power bricks. Now both screens get the same HDMI 2, DisplayPort 1.4 and USB-C inputs, the latter with 65-watt power delivery, so you can charge compatible laptops via the same cable. And it also lets you use each screen's 2 USB 3s as a hub. So then you can either use each screen independently or daisy-chained. This is where you plug one monitor in with the USB-C or the DisplayPort, and then use the DP out port to attach the second screen via its DP in. Which worked well on my PC, but I couldn't actually seem to get it to work on my MacBook Pros, and so I went with both via USB-C. All that articulation means this stand is pretty huge, and actually by default it sticks, well, this is a 100cm desk and it comes out halfway. For most normal desks, because this is a pretty deep one, is just ridiculous, and your screen's going to be right here in front of your eyes. So what you can do is pivot it back a little bit on itself, and so actually in that final form, if you will, it's only about 15-20 centimeters from the back of the desk, much more usable. The real trick though is to move the mount off center or on the side of your desk, as this minimizes the desk space used. This video is very kindly sponsored by the lovely people over at Surfshark VPN, which is always one of the very first apps I install, whether it's on my phone, PC, or even Chrome extension, and there's just something refreshingly simple about Surfshark. It doesn't get in the way, it's lightweight, it's really easy to use, and just one account lets you use an unlimited number of devices, which is a big deal for me. Thousands of servers across dozens of countries means you always get a fast connection, and of course using a VPN lets you get around region-locked content, it keeps your information private, and it can help prevent ads, malware, and tracking. I know this is sponsored, but I do genuinely use Surfshark all the time, both at home and when I'm traveling, and if you fancy giving it a try, click the link in the description below or use the code TechChap at the checkout to get 82% off and 3 months extra for free. With the 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. So why not give Surfshark VPN a try? So for me, as someone who does like to have a lot of tabs and apps open at once, Lightroom and Spotify and probably my YouTube channel and Premiere Pro and a million other things. Having this, I'm not going to say screen real estate, that's too much of a cliche. Let's say this amount of desktop space is just really, really nice. And if you are using it from a laptop, then, well, you've got 3 screens. And actually, I think the benefit of 27 inches over 24 is I find it a lot more comfortable to have 2 programs or apps or windows side by side on each screen, using the snapping tool in Windows or Magnet on Mac that I downloaded. And actually, I found myself a lot more productive this way rather than spending time switching or rearranging apps. Although just for fun, I like to rotate them into what I call trader mode whenever I'm checking my stock market losses for the day. Now, given the price, which actually I think is pretty reasonable, you are kind of getting a couple of jack of all trades, master of none monitors. I mean, the 75Hz, as I say, is nicer for gaming and makes everything just a bit smoother, but there aren't really any specific gaming features. It's Quad HD rather than 4K, so you're not going to be able to watch back or edit 4K content natively, which a lot of pros want to do. And also color accuracy is decent, looking at about 99% sRGB, 74% Adobe, 77% P3, but again, that's not up to a level of a pro colorist. But to be fair, they still look vibrant and colorful in day-to-day use, and you do have a ton of display and color options you can mess around with in the OSD menu. Now, for some reason, I actually couldn't get HDR content to display on either macOS or Windows 11 on these screens, despite them supporting HDR10. But the good news is I measured a max brightness of between 460 and 480 nits, which is quite bright for a monitor like this, and actually it's much higher than the spec would suggest, although it does dip a little bit in the corners. But again, for everyday office tasks and browsing, they are more than good enough. And actually, even my edit for this video looked pretty good on here, and the fact that they are both color matched means that unlike a lot of dual monitor setups which maybe have slight differences between the screens or the model or the year, these are pretty much a copy and paste of each other. So there are sort of 2 alternatives to this setup, I would say. Either a 49-inch ultra-wide, which would be very expensive, although seamless, you're not going to have that gap or that bezel in the middle, or you could buy 2 displays separately, individually, and VESA mount them. But the problem with that is the VESA mounts themselves can cost between £100 and £200, but you're not going to have this level of versatility and flexibility, and it also just all works really nicely together. It's all in one box, it's easy to use, you've got a ton of positioning options, and obviously you don't need to attach a VESA mount to your wall. So, should you consider buying this? Well, if you are after a productivity hub, I mean, really this is meant for office use and home office use, I guess. If you need this kind of screen real estate and you are going to benefit from that stand and you don't want an ultra-wide, then it's definitely worth considering. And I think the price is pretty attractive actually, especially if you can get it on a sale. Because if you consider the price of 2 individual Quad HD 27-inch monitors and a couple of stands or one stand that supports them both, and then all the fuss that goes with it, this probably ends up being cheaper. So it's certainly not for everyone. You're probably watching this thinking, I love that, I can think of a million reasons and ways I would use it, or you're watching it and thinking, cool, but not really for me. But what about you? What's your current setup display situation at home or in the office? Let me know in the comments. And actually, if you do fancy checking this out for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below. And that's about it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you want to see more reviews from me, hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time right here on the Tech Chat. Oh, and don't forget to give Surfshark VPN a try. Just click the link in the description below or use the code TechChap to get 82% off and 3 months extra for free. What are you waiting for?